What's up, everybody? Jody here with the Bass Nerds. Last week, I put a little teaser out there on Instagram about an instrument that we're going to be giving away. And guess what this is? The instrument we're giving away! This here is a brand new Sire Marcus Miller 5-string bass with the flame maple top. You've got swamp ash body, roasted flame maple neck with the rolled fingerboard. Nice, comfortable, easy to play. Has a carbon fiber rod reinforcement in it. Gorgeous block inlays. Flame maple top. The Marcus Miller J Revolution pickups. We've got the 3-band active passive preamp in it with your stack, volume, and tone. Pickup selector, treble, mid-brace, mid-frequency. A select with boost and cut, and then your bass adjustment, 2-way toggle switch here for your active passive, high mass bridge, bone nut. You can see this instrument is 100% brand new. Still got the tags on it, still got the plastic on the pickups. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous instrument. String through body here, your pickup battery cavity here. Beautiful instrument. These basses are currently sold out on the Sire website, but you can get your hands on this one. Woo! Comes with the gig bag here, the Marcus Miller Sire bass gig bag. It's going to be huge, guys. We're really excited about this instrument. I just got it in the mail the other day. Super psyched about it. We are giving this bass away to one of you. What I need you guys to do to enter to win this bass is to subscribe to our Instagram page, Bass Nerds Podcast. Subscribe to Sire's Instagram page, Sire Revolution. Need you to tag 3 friends with the hashtag I desire a Sire. And we also need you to do one more thing, and that's like our YouTube channel, the Bass Nerds Podcast YouTube channel. Those are their terms. Links down below. Do those things, and you could win this bass. What's that going to take you? All of 3 minutes? You could win this bass for free. For free. For free. We will send it to you. It is brand new. Still has the tags. Still has the plastic on the pick guards. I just got it in the mail. If it's good enough for Marcus Miller, damn sure good enough for you. Thank you so much, Kyle Kim from Sire Guitars, for giving us this instrument to give to you. Like, subscribe, all those fun things, and this bass could be yours. Thank you so much. Now, let's on to the Kyle Kim podcast. All right, well, I guess let's get started. I am Jody Miller, and this is
Mark Najjar,
and we are the Bass Nerds. Today we have a bunch of people here. Very excited. Why don't you introduce everybody?
All right, so first and foremost, we have Mr. Kyle Kim from Sire Guitars. Very, very honored to have you here. We have Mr. Vuyani Wakaba. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes,
He speaks 9 languages?
Yes, you did.
You speak 8 languages.
8 languages.
8 languages. 8. Just 8.
9 if you count body language.
Oh, that's deep. You had to get deep on us.
And Vuyani, just tell us in like 3 sentences or less your whole deal as a bass player. What do you do?
I groove.
You groove. Good answer.
He did that in 2 words.
It's 2 words, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm into the brevity thing. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have a repeat friend, Mr. Jauqo 3X. We all know about him. We had a great time hanging out with him.
Yeah, by the time you're listening to this, our previous podcast should be already out there.
Hopefully.
Featuring Jauqo. We got a call pretty recently about getting Mr. Kyle in here.
Let's talk about how recently. It was last night. And it wasn't just a phone call. I got a text from Jauqo that says, Mark, can you do an emergency podcast? I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, am I going to interview Bootsy? Fuck yeah. And then he says, oh, Kyle Kim's in town. I'm like, fuck yeah, absolutely. So,
12 hours ago.
Well, yeah.
I got the text. Yeah. I should be working right now.
No one got any sleep.
Same here.
So it's typically we do these podcasts in the evening, but this is early afternoon, and Mark's over here drinking his throat coat, making it happen. So Mr. Kyle, we are very thankful and honored to have you here. I don't see you doing a whole lot of interviews, so it means a lot to us to have you here. I don't know where we begin. I know you're the head man over there at Sire Basses, and you guys have been shaking up the bass world for some time. I get a lot of the bass forums. I'm part of Talk Bass and a lot of the online Facebook groups, and there's the constant discussion between quality of instrument versus price, and you get a lot of custom builders that can get in the $2, $3, $5, $10,000 price points, and I get a lot of people who point at Sire Basses as a high quality instrument at a very reasonable price. You can get there's a lot of options out there under $1,000. Some, I think you even got some stuff that's like $300-$400, and people have always sang your praises and really enjoy your product and point to your product as being, you get active electronics, very nice finish, lots of high quality materials at a very reasonable price. So I guess what made you want to start a bass company?
First of all, thanks for having me today.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's kind of an honor to me.
Oh,
to
honor
meet
for
you
us.
guys.
Goes both ways.
Yeah.
Actually, I was a bass player
Oh, really?
in small band.
I think that's something that it doesn't end ever.
Very unknown band. Anyway, I was bass player when I was 20, 22, kind of school band,
Okay.
university school band. But as you know, 25 years ago, 27 years ago, the Korean economy is not very stronger compared to current situation. So
Okay.
the currency rate was terrible. So
Yeah.
all bass guitar from America was very, very expensive in Korea. So I was just a normal student. There is no money to buy very nice bass guitar. So I decided to build bass guitar by myself.
That's awesome.
So
That's my
25
start.
years ago, you built your first one?
Yeah, right.
Oh.
So what did you model it after?
Of course, the Fender Jazz bass
course.
style. Yeah.
But like, did you find like books? Did you like find one at a store?
Yeah.
Like, how did that process start?
I bought several books how to build bass guitar, something like that.
Stuart McDonald. or whatever,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Kind of. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I read books and maybe without any eating, without sleeping,
Yeah.
just observed in making my bass guitar. So that's my start.
That's where you started.
In the U.S., we call that hustle.
Hustle.
Big time.
That's what we're doing. Mark and I are doing right now. We're hustling a podcast.
Not anywhere close to what you did. That's awesome.
So 25 years ago, it's hard to find a quality instrument in, I'm assuming, South Korea. And so you decide to build your own. And then at what point do you decide to build basses for other people?
Actually, I didn't have any intention to sell bass guitar.
Yeah.
But one day at the small studio, my senior player, after playing my bass, "Oh, what is this?" The bass made by me. I explained about my bass guitar. Was sounded pretty good. So why don't you sell this bass guitar to me? He told me like that.
Yeah.
So I sold the bass guitar.
Your first one?
My first one, because
man.
I never got any satisfaction for first my bass guitar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After making first one, not satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the time I want to build the second one, but
Right.
somebody want to buy my first one. Oh, why not? So
Right.
I sold my first one, and second one I started to build the second one
Okay.
and somebody want to buy second one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and third one,
Right.
and fourth one.
And this is completely word of mouth.
Yeah.
The people are just
Yeah.
finding out about
Yeah.
this cool guy named Kyle who builds
Yeah, right.
really cool
Yeah.
bases. And of that first base, I mean, does that person still have it? Have you seen it recently? Are there pictures of it? I'd love to see it.
Actually, I cannot find any picture.
No.
Yeah, I didn't imagine this kind of situation.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so I didn't keep any
Right.
material for the history.
Nice.
This is,
So you build your first one, you sell it off, you build your second one, and you're slowly, people are interested, they want to buy it, so you just keep selling and buying, selling and buying, and then at some point you're like, idea, I need to make thousands of these and several different models, and I need to sell them in the United States and all over the world. When does that happen?
maybe after selling number 7 bass guitar, some senior bass player gave me advice.
Yeah.
Why don't you make your own brand
Yeah.
for making bass guitars? So I decided to start a bass guitar brand in Korea.
All right.
But in order to make 10 or 20 bass simultaneously, it's not easy.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to find some people who can help me, or so I am looking. I am looking for the factory. There were a lot of guitar factory in Korea actually,
Right.
especially the brand Colt,
Yeah.
one of the best guitar factory in the world.
I think they make more guitars than anyone else.
No.
Yeah,
they're, like, known for
Fender,
making-
huge,
right?
yeah.
They make everything.
huge.
Right.
Anyway, the Colt factory location was not very far from me, so I visit there. So could you help me produce 20 bass guitars for me, something like that? They reject. So I visit a lot of guitar factory.
Yeah.
So finally, I found a factory who can help me. So maybe I was there for 1 month for making 20 bass guitar with them.
Yeah.
So after building 20 bass guitars, I released my own brand via internet.
And wasn't Sire Basses at the time?
The bass guitar name was Dame Guitar. Dame, D-A-M-E.
Like Dame Judi Dench.
Madame, D-A-M-E.
Yeah,
Dame Guitars.
That's
Nice.
cool.
Actually, the Sire, the word from Sir,
Yeah.
the root is Cirque, and the Madame Dame is from female.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sire from male.
Yeah.
It's connected,
Yeah.
actually.
Nice.
Actually, my band name was Daydreamer.
Okay.
So I wanna to put the alphabet D-A-M-E,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and name is kind of cool. So,
Yeah.
Sure.
so that's
Nice.
my story.
And how long were you under the moniker Dame? Like, how long was that your brand name?
The Dame Guitar is #1 electric guitar company in Korea right now.
Really? I had no idea. Like, this is the thing. There's no interviews with you out there. We don't know.
You're
Like,
right,
you're this
yeah.
mystery man.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So Dame guitar is still in.
Still very popular in Asia.
Oh, all right.
Not only bass guitar, but also electric
Electric
guitars, ukulele, acoustic guitars.
And what's your involvement in that company?
Sorry?
Is that still your company, or is that something you still?
Still my company.
That's awesome. This humble beginnings, like, yeah, I'm gonna build my own band. Why not? I'm in a band, and then just like here you are, 20 years later, and you have the biggest manufacturer in South Korea, and that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. So now you make the Dame guitars, and then at what point do you turn it into Sire? When does that happen?
Actually, after starting real business in Korea, maybe 4 years later, we are remarkable brand in South Korea.
Okay.
And after 10 years, finally we became the number one guitar company in Korea. So after that, I was very confident
Yeah.
because I can make very good quality and good price products all the time. So I was very, very confident.
Yeah.
It's time to go to abroad.
The next level.
Next level.
Yeah.
Because we are strong.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of obstacle, kind of barrier.
Yeah. What kind of struggles did you have taking it to that level?
Actually, we introduced our lineups to very big distributors
Yeah.
of each country. After checking the quality and price, they told me, "Oh, very nice quality and price,
Yeah.
but we need much more margin.
Right. We need more money.
Yep.
We need more
The
money."
age-old story.
Because normally, in terms of origin, the electric guitars from American culture, right?
Yeah.
Nobody want to buy the guitars from South Korea at the time anyway. So we tried a lot of times, a lot of money, but actually conclusion was failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money, but we didn't get anything at the
No.
time. So
You weren't able to create those larger margins to make the distributors happy, so it just didn't work out.
right.
Did that lead to your, when Sire originally came out, it was direct to consumer. There were you were the distributor. Was that the reason for that? That like we're going to cut out the middleman and just sell direct to consumer.
You're right.
Yeah.
Kind of. But after getting big failure, I lost a lot of money,
Right.
and I got lessons.
Sure.
I
You
got.
learned.
You learned, yeah.
I learned 3 lessons.
What are those 3
I decided three things. First, I need to establish new brand in America first,
Okay.
not the brand from Korea, such as Dame guitars, like that.
Right.
And second thing was, I will kill the other guitars by quality
Yeah.
and price.
That's a good one.
It's kind of responsibility. I don't know why, but I feel it is my mission, something like that.
Right.
I don't know why, but I felt like that.
Well, I mean, I think that's the way you become popular is you create a product that's equal or better to its competition at a better price, and it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't I take a Sire guitar bass over? It's a similar instrument from Fender or Lakeland or whoever, but your product is superior, has more features, and it's more affordable. I mean, why wouldn't? I think that's why you've built such a strong fan base.
And let's just call it as it is. I mean, for decades, I mean, we've watched this happen in a lot of different countries outside of the U.S. You saw it in the 70s with Japan, and people are like,
Right.
"Oh, these it just for whatever reason there was this stigma about having something that was made in Japan, and then all of a sudden people realize like this shit's made really well,
Right,
And
yeah.
then South Korea, and then now people are realizing like shit, you could get a really awesome instrument for South Korea, and I think as technology develops, that stigma starts to go away, and it's because of manufacturers like you who are building a name for yourself here, like, oh yeah, you can actually make something really amazing,
Right.
that is very affordable.
Well, I think we're all familiar with like lawsuit Ibanez's from the 70s and 80s, and
I've
they've
got
right. And I remember I've been working in music stores since I was like 12 years old. My father owned a music store, and we would get a lot of those Japanese-made copies in the store. And I remember at 12 years old, we would sell them for $150, $200, and all day they would come through. We'd sell them. Now I see on Craigslist that same guitar is $800, $700 for that lawsuit. But it's because it's a well-made instrument, and at the time people didn't really know what they were getting, and now they look back and go, well, I can get this lawsuit, and I'm telling you, some of those guitars I would played amazingly well. Great action, sounded really good, had great play, were well built instruments, and then nowadays it's hard to get that same kind of quality and build at that same price point. If you want a new Les Paul right now, it's $1,200. It's not cheap, and even the studio models, which I would say aren't really quite the same quality, are still, I think they come out at $800-900 brand new. So I think like now I'm seeing, and I think those instruments are just going to continue to go up in price, and I think like age has something to do with it. Something that's vintage is always going to have a little bit more value to it. But I remember just blowing those things out the door for $150 all day, and now I see that I'm like, man, I should have hung on to all of those.
Well, and with that comes the age of information where the consumer, especially in the U.S., is realizing like the technology demands, and there are other builders outside of the U.S. who are really good. So.
But there's another element to this, though. To me, the element that also is in play is the fact that you also have the industry. The prices have been creeping up on basses, and so what Sire, in my opinion, is doing, they're disrupting the industry by not only offering quality and affordability, but they're doing it at a time where prices have been inching up significantly.
Well, one of the other issues, I don't think too many luthiers are aware that they are in the process of actually pricing themselves out of business, because a lot of consumers today are more informed. They're extremely intelligent with what's going on outside the luthiers in America only. So you take some luthiers who are selling basses at these astronomical prices.
Right.
I'm a bass player, and I hear and I see, and you get comments. A lot of guys, not to say guys, but a lot of bass players, they're not happy with the prices of a lot of these instruments.
Oh, sure. And
so a company like Sire or some of the other companies that are making an extremely well-made bass at an incredibly affordable price, it matters. And we're living in different times today economically. Just worldwide, and no one wants to really go. They're not really feeling comfortable spending $3,000 for a bass. One of the reasons I believe some of these luthiers who are charging or asking for these high prices, what we perceive as high prices, the reason most of them are still in existence is because they're working off of back orders.
Right.
Once those they're going to eventually price themselves out the box. I feel.
Yeah, it's definitely like I think there's a lot of different things at play. I think we're in a current environment where you have access to used instruments in a way that you never had before. When I was a kid, we had a small mom and pop shop. There was no internet. You bought whatever instruments were in the music store at the time. Now in the age of Craigslist and Reverbs of the world, like anybody can put their instrument up for sale, and everyone has access to see it. So now all of a sudden there's a lot more competition for your used Sadowski or your used Lakeland or whatever, where at one point I think it drives the used market down a little bit because you have so many options out there.
I don't necessarily think they're going to price themselves out of the market. It's like any luxury commodity. It's not just within the musical instrument industry. Look at the car industry.
Well, we're talking about the subject is musical instruments. I mean, it can go other avenues as well. But at the end of the day, you take someone. I don't want to say a brand, but the brand is the street price is $3,400.
Right.
And then someone can walk in the store and see that same brand used for $2,400. Almost the same specs, same exact bass. They might roll with that one that's a little cheaper. They're getting the same instrument, but then you have a company like Sire come along, and it's not to say Sire is the greatest, but Sire is really putting a dent
Right.
in these luthiers who have been around for a while,
Resting on their laurels.
And I don't necessarily want to say resting on their laurels. Some of them might not even be aware, because if you take away doctors and lawyers, people with that kind of money, where are those luthiers going to be? So
Right.
it's a bigger picture than just saying they're going to price themselves. We can say there's a lot of pros and cons,
Right.
because some companies are still in existence because they were smart enough to offer a less costly version of their more costly version.
Right.
And that's a fact. We cannot dispute that. There are some companies today that would not be around if they were not saying, well, hey, here's my other model. It's a little
Yeah, I
less.
think
So it's a bigger picture than, what we're
Right.
discussing here.
Well, I think like with Sire, I think is really it like entices the working musician more than I think it does the doctors and the lawyers, because Mark and I have both sold $10,000
Right,
basses and plus that the average person, I would say, that comes in and spends $5,000+ on an instrument probably isn't a working musician, like full time.
Right.
Sure.
This is how I make my sole living, because
But it wasn't always that way.
well, it wasn't always
There was
that
definitely,
way.
I mean, you guys probably know that there was a time where the working musician, they
Oh, yeah.
put the
Right.
money aside and
Exactly. It
found a way to get the
easier.
Olympics.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier than it has become lately. Yeah.
Right. So
And,
then,
and again, that comes back to my point that the prices have been creeping up, because when you bought an Alembic as a working musician in the 80s, early
Right.
90s, it didn't take as much of your earnings as
Right.
it would now.
well,
Sure.
musicians
You know
were probably being paid a little bit more back then too.
well, that's the other thing
so
too.
that's a whole.
There were different
nother-
opportunities back then.
That's a whole nother
But back then,
podcast.
but even Olympic back then, Olympic was still what a lot of working musicians considered or maybe perceived as a very expensive instrument.
Right.
But again, not trashing Olympic at all. I mean, I own one.
Right.
Great instruments, but at the same time,
I want that bass so bad.
I know he's always on me about it. But $25,000-$30,000,
Right.
And a lot of musicians today, they are more informed.
Sure.
They study. At the end of the day, we're nerds.
Right.
Seriously, we want to know what we're looking at, what we're getting into. It's like with Sire, Kyle. They did not know Sire was going to become what it became. I can say that because I shared this with those guys, and I even told them the very beginning, this is going to really blow up. And Mickey, we all know Mickey. Mickey was like, "You think so?" Like, yeah. But at the end of the day, one of the reasons is because they kind of, in the beginning, was kind of focused on students, beginners.
Yeah.
But the professionals just said, forget you guys. We want them too. We want
Right.
to play them too. But at the end of the day, you can't be mad at that because they are a quality instrument.
Sure.
So it's
So-
a lot of factors going into these prices and
So
quality.
what was the breakthrough then? Like when did you, like, was it with Marcus Miller? Was it before that? Like when did you start getting that household attention?
Actually, if I can interrupt, why don't you ask how the Marcus Miller connection started? Because
How did the Marcus Miller connection
that
That
start?
was a
I think-
question.
Yeah,
That was
I
definitely-
think and then that can lead into how it broke out beyond that.
Ask him.
right.
He's right there. Ask him.
So,
It doesn't have to be me. You're a nerd too.
yeah, I am.
Actually, I mentioned about two things.
Right. What was the third?
We went on a
The
tangent.
last one is I have to be with a super musician.
Yeah.
The last one was
Yeah.
this is story about Marcus Miller.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect transition.
Super musician.
Super musician.
Yeah. So before we go any further, is Marcus Miller well known in Korea as well? All over the world.
Course, of
Everywhere.
course.
All right.
Kind
So-
of stupid question.
I've never been to Korea. I don't know. That was good.
We need to edit in like a fucking dunce cap.
No, he didn't. That was gangster.
Yeah, he did you, man. Did you
That
hard.
one's gonna go
I think you did
viral.
yourself though.
Marcus Miller is gonna see that.
Yeah,
right?
good.
Like he's gonna get that clip.
Wow. Oh, wow. Wow.
Anyway,
Anyway, so
How did
this
that
guy,
happen?
Marcus, what's his? I also, by the way, my last name is Miller.
I approached to top level bass guitar player. I met a few bass player, but I got rejection from very top notch bass player.
Right.
So I cannot find any alternative players. So one day, Dame Company's vice president, his name is David. David went to Korean biggest music shop
Okay.
for arranging something about
A deal, yeah.
Dame guitars. There was very nice bass guitar player who called the Andrea Berry.
Okay.
One of great bass guitar player, Andrea Berry. He was working for maybe David Sanborn.
Okay.
There was David
Yeah.
Sanborn concert in Korea.
Oh, cool.
But
And he was in the shop.
Andrea Berry was like us, bass holding man. So, so all the time talking about bass and want to play new bass guitar. So he tested the Dame bass guitar. So he asked to the store man, how much is it? This is $400. Really? Is this really $400?
Yeah.
At that time, David crossing over there. So, this is a man from this company, Dame Guitars.
So just like that, like just right place, right time.
Right time. Kind of a miracle.
Yeah.
So, David explained about our gears, and we became a good friend. So whenever visit in Asia, we met together and talk about bass guitar. I explained about my project. So he told me, actually, I have a little connection with Marcus Miller. If you are okay, maybe I can let you guys meet each other in Japan. Next gig was in Japan.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
really? Why not? If he visit in Japan, I will be there 100 times, 1,000 times, no problem.
Yeah.
I will be
Like,
there.
If you get the invitation, you show up.
So Andrea B told me, I'm not sure. The possibility is half-half.
Right.
But I think, Kyle, I know you. You are really nice developer for building bass guitar, and everybody knows the Marcus is kind of a legend.
Right.
Maybe if you guys collaborate something, it's gonna be cool thing, he told me. So very carefully he recommend me to Marcus Miller.
Yeah.
So,
He was still a Fender at the time.
yeah,
as well,
right. Yeah. So one day, the Andrea Berry called me. Maybe you can meet Marcus Miller in Osaka of Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I'll be there soon, right
Well, it's
now.
crazy. I'm already at the airport.
Right.
So I met Marcus Miller in Osaka.
Okay.
So actually, I felt kind of he is fake one. You know what I mean?
Right. Not real.
He was always the man in my brain, an illusion kind of.
Yeah.
So many of my Korean friends text me, you have to check he is real one or a fake one. And anyway,
And he's real.
anyway, after meeting him, he was very humble.
Yeah.
And okay, I heard, he told me, I heard you can make very, very super nice quality bass guitar with very good price.
Right.
I want to play your bass. I want to check. I want to check your bass guitar if possible. He
Yeah.
told me. So we sent sample to his studio in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And 2 months later, Marcus called me. Shall we meet? So finally we meet
Yeah.
many times, and we plan to release new bass guitar brand.
Nice.
That's the story.
That's awesome.
So
So
you-
it's really just like a miracle, like
Yeah.
just right place, right time.
Yeah.
It really pays off not being an asshole. I gotta say, like that never would have happened. I'm convinced that never would have happened if anyone had any doubt about your character. So that's yeah.
So
It's
then
a lesson.
you secured Marcus Miller before you launched Sire, or so you waited till you had him, and then it was all right. We're gonna make this brand and push this bass company out there.
After testing my bass guitar, I think he almost already decided to make new brand with me.
Yeah.
So after that, so many times the samples back and forth.
Yeah.
After making new one and hey Kyle, please little bit sexy middle sound, please. After that, I tuned the pickup again and again.
And so
Yeah.
you're building the pickups too.
Yeah.
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right,
Everything.
yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I had. Is like, how much input does Marcus have on his signature bass?
100%.
100%. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's great.
But all the time he respect my point all
Sure.
the time. We kind of a collaboration, but
Yeah.
but every idea mostly from Marcus Miller all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, I definitely think. Well, those are three huge points that you had. You know, and I want to be 100% honest with you. When Sire first came out, and I heard that it was a direct-to-consumer thing, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. You know, I was like, but I was working in a music store, so like, it was, in some areas my enemy. Because like, if this does well, it's not great for me. But it's definitely like you've built this like giant fan base of people who just like constantly are Sire for the money, for the quality, for the gigging musician. You get active electronics. You get all these nice quality materials. Is that like how do you feel like you've been able to cultivate that and curate that and make such a big fan base from the musicians? Is that something you've like actively sought out, or were you just like, I'm going to build a great instrument and it's going to speak for itself?
I have a point that goes with what you're gonna say. So you go first.
Actually, I imagined all the time if I work with Marcus Miller, maybe so many distributors line up at the NAMM show. They want to be distributor of my guitars,
Right.
but nothing happened.
Oh, that didn't happen.
Nothing happened. I think there is kind of mafia connection in at the music industry.
Yeah.
I mean, always, already huge brand,
Yeah.
huge distributor. They have kind of connection already.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
kind of. Sometimes I call it cartel,
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of.
Right.
So, the situation, the beginning of the situation is very different with my Imagine.
Yeah.
So if I work with Marcus Miller, automatically
Things are going to happen.
explosion
Dealers,
kind
yeah,
of never happened
Right.
like that. So we could not work with big chain,
Yeah.
big distributors. So alternative way. There's not any option to sell my bass guitar in America. So we decided to focus on the Facebook,
Right.
YouTube, Instagram, the
Yeah.
SNS, social media.
Guerrilla style.
Yeah.
Automatically,
Yeah.
very naturally, because there was a kind of door, on the unique door over there,
Yes.
but the other side, we cannot find any door.
Yeah.
So automatically, so I said to Marcus Miller, nobody want to buy your bass guitar, so let's get patience,
Yeah.
because I think this instrument is kind of truth.
Yeah.
Maybe many people will be recognize the
Right.
truth
Right.
in the future automatically.
Right.
So let's get patient, something like that. But Marcus Miller told me, "Oh, really? It's okay." But I broke up with Fender. You need you need to know about this. So, but you
Do you think that that relationship at the time with Fender is what caused the roadblock for you with the distributors?
in the beginning, little bit expensive lineup with Fender and little bit mid price range with Sire. That was our first plan. But after Fender guys test our gears, they want to break up with Marcus Miller.
Okay.
After testing, they thought just maybe Sire guitars would is pretty good, maybe so no
Right.
problem, but no problem with our price range, quality, and price.
Right.
But after testing ours, their attitude maybe very seriously changes.
Changed, yeah.
So Marcus told me about that.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to choose just one company.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe he gave up my company automatically,
Right.
naturally.
Right. Yeah. How do you walk away from Fender? You know?
They are Fender.
Right.
That's
you
a
know?
gutsy move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can imagine Michael Jordan is belong to Nike, right?
Right.
But nobody knows the there is a company nobody knows
Yeah.
from Korea.
Yeah.
They can make pretty good shoes.
Right.
Michael Jordan can live from Nike.
Right.
Impossible.
Right.
Impossible.
Right.
Right.
But Marcus told me, I will be your side.
Yeah.
That's
Actually, I don't know why. Still,
I think it's because I heard him tell this story before. It's because you listened to him, and at a time when people weren't listening to him. I think that's really important. Is for the artist to have real input on the thing that they're putting their name on and the thing that they're backing up. And
Yeah.
like when talking to him, he made that point very very clear. I think that kind of endorsement got a lot of people's attention. A lot of people who like had their ear to the ground, and like these guys right here at the table. I met them. I mean, I've known you guys for a while, but I was at the bass bash at JT Schmid's
Right.
at NAM. It's in Anaheim. It's this. They used to have the bass bashes there, and I was standing outside, and Marcus just kind of like crept in and he left and stuff, and I run into Jauqo outside, and I see Jauqo's holding the gig bag, and he goes, "Mark, come over here." And this is while I was working at CME. This is what, 2014, 2014,
It was
2013 maybe.
when I had the Sire,
Yeah.
January 2015.
15.
15.
Okay. So I walk up to him, and he's like, "Play this bass." And I start playing. I'm like, "This is damn good. This is really good." And at the time, we had, like, the store I was working for, like, we just got Mayonis basses, and a lot of basses that are like in that $2,000 to $3,000 price range, and they do that J style bass.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Man, this is really nice," and I've never heard of these guys. And he goes, "How much do you think that bass is?" And I was like, "I'd say like around $2,000, like $2,200." He's just like, "Lower," and I was just like, $1,800. Keep going.
Right.
And like the more that happened, I was just like, he's full of it. There's no way he's telling the truth. And Marcus is like right there. Like he's probably about maybe like 10 feet away. And I was like, just fucking tell me how much it is. And he was just like, at the time it was $6.99.
Something like that.
Yeah. And I was like, who do I have to talk to?
Nobody believed me.
Yeah. But I told him right away. I was like,
Yeah.
who do I need to talk to get these in
Right.
CME? Like I'm gonna call Dan right now and get these fucking basses
Yeah,
here.
they-
And you were like, "Oh, they're gonna be direct to consumer." I'm like, "What are you doing to me, dude? Like, what the fuck is this?" But like, the point of that is, I've always respected Jauqo in his opinion. He's always got his ears to the ground. He knows everybody, and Vuyani as well. Like, when these guys are excited about something, and like nudging, I always took that as like, I need to pay attention to
Yeah,
this.
I thought it was
for
a
sure.
great product. You know, that particular bass, I was blown away by the quality. But what really got me was I played it acoustically first.
Yeah.
Before I even plugged it in.
Yeah.
And just the way it sounded acoustically. And I mentioned to a couple of guys at that particular show, and the whole day, everybody was like, where's that bass at? Even Marcus, because some guys was telling Marcus that I was on one side of the restaurant. They was telling me he was on the other side. And, you know, I guess we both was kind of laughing at it. I'm laughing about the whole situation. But when Marcus saw me, he was like, where you get that bass from? You know? But at the end of the day, it was a great instrument. And I appreciate you respecting my opinion, because it's a well-made instrument. And a lot of people, you know, like I was sharing with Kyle, and this is not a knock on Marcus at all, but a lot of people, there was a serious issue within the bass community. They were not believing that Marcus was actually playing that bass.
Oh yeah, the real like the one straight from the like they were convinced that he had like a different preamp and like someone else, and it was handmade and all this stuff like that.
And, you know, and I guess Kyle
wasn't stock.
Matter of fact, Marcus came to Chicago and received a new Sire 4-string straight out of the box that he ended up playing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That night.
But it goes back to, like, I was, you know, see, Kyle, he can tell you better, because we've talked about this, where they realized they needed a little more help other than just having Marcus' name attached to it. Because it was only because of that slight stigma with people's ignorance, not believing that Marcus was actually playing that instrument.
Yeah.
And so what I did, and I appreciate Kyle for allowing me that freedom, I put together a list of bass players all around the country, because they were I felt was the grunt of the community of helping getting that instrument out. And so we had guys in New York, California, Chicago, everywhere.
Right.
And that helped.
Sure.
I'm not going to sit and say it didn't. It helped, because he still had obstacles. Kyle still had obstacles to get over. He had these humps, and we had a blast. We had fun with it all. And at the end of the day, they're still making a great product.
Right.
But these professionals are taking the basses from the kids. You know, the kids can't even play them. But no, Kyle did a great thing, and I appreciate what he's done for the bass players out there.
Right.
You know, they're improving every day. You know, so
Right.
you know, it's a good thing, and we need more of that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, nobody. You know, I was telling Kyle the last time I have seen something like this in the bass community was when Ned Steinberger came out with the Steinberger bass.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the bass community this disrupted because of a bass since
Right.
then, and that was in the 80s. And here it is, you know, like 2000. I think I first reached out to the guys 2013, 2014, because I myself was interested.
Right.
I wanted to know.
How did you find out about it?
Somebody mentioned it to me. One of my friends was touring, and he was saying, "Hey, this company called Sire supposed to be coming out with a new Marcus Miller signature bass. It's supposed to be of a great quality."
That's how it starts.
And I said, "Yeah." And me being, you know, I reached out to the guys, and they kind of knew who I was, and I was like, "I want to check this bass out, because I have students. I wanted to see what was to this instrument." And so it was going to ship it out to me, but Mickey said, "You know what? If you're going to be in California during this particular time, I'll just hand it off to you." And that's when I looked at the quality, and it reminded me of a 70s, you know, good quality 70s J bass.
Yeah.
I played it unamplified, and it sounded great. Right. And that's what I told Mickey.
And this is the V series that we're talking
That
about.
was the V7.
Yeah.
That was the one that when I took the picture with Marcus, because Jackie Clark, he was like, "You guys should take a picture." Jackie posted that picture a couple of minutes later on Facebook, and it kind of started an avalanche of interest. And that's basically it, word of mouth, and guys actually playing it.
So that, to your gut instinct with people lining up when they find out, the distributors, they have this boys club right? That they're like they this cartel that they're keeping you out of, and so that kept it from the general public. But once the word got out, your instinct was correct.
Absolutely.
The people like the influencers like at this table are like, all right, I got to know what that's about. Holy shit, this is the truth. Hey, student, there's a bass that's coming out. It's going to be in your price range. Don't worry about saving up for that master built, whatever. Right. Just focus on this right now.
But to me, early on, I thought it was a mistake for a lot of people to think of it as a base for students.
I agree.
Yes.
And I was out there trying to explain to these touring cast that
but that was the mantra though. That was like Marcus's whole thing behind that.
It was, but I even back then I was telling guys that this thing is legit. This is not a student model. Ever since I got my first V7, my vintage Fenders haven't left the house. And, guys were saying, really? Here, play it. And they would play it, and they would look at it, and then look at me again, and next thing, they show up with the Sire.
You know what's another funny thing, and you've experienced it too, there are some guys in the industry we know who have serious endorsements. They wanted a Sire to record with, but they didn't want their company to know they have a Sire. Right. And we were like, "Wow, this is serious." They were serious, like, "Well, I don't want them to know that I'm using a Sire." So we were like, "Just go buy one." And a lot of guys, they did buy one
because you could afford to.
Exactly.
Right?
Some guys that got 4, 5, 6 of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
I had those customers for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk. We talked a lot about the V series. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the development of the M series. So how did that come about?
Actually, there was a kind of paradox. I mean, actually, Marcus Miller play jazz bass guitar all the time.
Right.
But we have to release 2 humbucker bass as well because there are so many people who love this kind of bass guitar.
Right.
So I want to talk with Marcus Miller about this kind of bass guitar.
Right.
Actually, I was very nervous because he is not 2 humbucker bass guitar player all the time.
Right.
So even though I suggest maybe there is a possibility to be rejected by him.
Right.
But he was very cool. I like this one, but many people love this one. We should release this kind of bass as well.
Right.
Very positive for making new bass series.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the start we release.
And it was the same level of input that he had on the other bass. He had on the M series.
M series.
Well. And the preamp that you're using in the M series, is it the same preamp that's in? Okay,
totally same.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally
awesome.
same.
Great preamp.
Yeah. No, it's solid. It's solid.
The one thing that I've always been impressed by that Sire's does very well is consistency of quality.
Yeah.
I've played not only my basses, I've played his basses and a bunch of other Sires, and there's a certain consistency that they've managed to get that I've seen other companies struggle with, and the great thing about it is it makes it easy for me when I recommend it to say, hey, I know that what you pick up is going to be solid because every one I've picked up, I haven't run into a single one that has been subpar.
Yeah, definitely. Being in the selling instruments for a long time, we'd get 10 American-made Strats, and they all play differently. They're all set up a little differently, and I think that's a huge hurdle that a lot of manufacturers, especially if you're not doing handmade instruments, you're doing a little more mass-produced. It's really hard to keep consistent stuff because you want to pump them out. You want to get them done. The quicker we get them done, the more we can make. The more we make, the more money we make. That whole thing. So, I definitely have heard a lot of people say that, like, man, they're just quality across the board. They're consistent across the board. And I've everything, even every manufacturer is going to have, mail a bass out, and then, 6 months later something breaks on it or whatever. And I've seen, in some of the forums, people have said, I had an issue with like a tuning peg, and Sire was quick to get on it, repair it, send me out a new one. So I think you've also been well known for having a really good customer service after the bass even arrives, which is obviously huge and crucial. A lot of gigging bass players, because I think like building that fan base, like Jauqo said, he got a list of musicians across the United States. It was the guys who are gigging regularly, and those guys are the people who are going
players,
right, are gonna get that instrument in front of a lot of people, and they're always getting their picture taken at a show, and there's always something going on, and then I know Tony Brown's playing, and what's he playing? I know him as a player in Chicago, as a guy who's doing a lot of different things. What's he doing? What's Will Howard doing? I see, and Will's always got his Sire, and every gig he's got he's getting hundreds of pictures of him taken a year at different events, and then guys like me who are kind of in the bass world, a musician, are kind of looking like, what are the guys who are gigging? What are they using? And I think the price point also lends to like, I've owned $3,000 plus instruments. And I'm afraid to take them out sometimes, and I at a certain point in my life, I said, what? If this is the bass I want to play, I'm taking it out. I played every show. I played hundreds of shows at my Ken Smith, and that's a $2,000 to $3,000 instrument, and some of them are well more expensive than that. And I was like, what? This is my bass. This is what I'm going to do. But I still see a lot of musicians go, nope, that's not coming out of my house. That just sits in the corner, and maybe when I do a studio or I'm recording, or when I fiddle around at home. And I think that we've talked about this in the past, and I think that's like, it's a sad thing when you've got, a high quality instrument, but you're afraid to take it out and play it. But there's also,
it's reality.
We talked about on Jauqo podcast about, instruments being stolen is another one. So when you're afraid, not only like, okay, I might ding it. All right, I might be able to live with that.
Or damaged by airlines.
Or that's another one. I don't want to travel with it, But and then the other one is like, oh, my bass got stolen. And nobody wants their instrument stolen, but it's definitely a little easier to swallow the $800 bass getting stolen versus the $8,000 bass getting stolen. Right.
Well, there's also the issue that we were talking about it last night. Some of the boutique instruments tend to be specialists.
Right.
They do this narrow thing really well.
Right.
And then the working player needs something that is,
Swiss
a
Army
workhorse.
knife.
Yeah, it does everything, and pretty much all the Sire line of basses is capable of doing everything.
Yeah, active, passive, mid frequency adjustment, I think, is a huge one to give you lots of different tones.
Yes.
So
Let's go back to the quality part of the conversation you were talking about. You, how do you keep quality control so tight in your facility?
Actually, the Sire guitars made in our own factory 100%.
So that's step one. Like you have full-on control over it. It's not being outsourced to another factory, and you say here are the specifications, and then you hope you get back. You have people that are making your product.
Right.
Period. Okay, that's a big step.
Actually, the big name brands such as Fender, Gibson, Ibanez, ESP, Schecter, they are all using OEM factory.
Right.
yeah.
So even though the same guitar model, different factory, sometimes coming out from different factories.
Right.
This is truth, because they don't have any Asian factory experience.
Right.
So they are very afraid to establish new factory there by investing by them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have to work with just OEM factory in Asia.
And they're beholden to the results that they get from
They
that
don't
factory.
have the control. I've definitely heard in the past, or from manufacturers who have done that, where they've got their USA made instruments, and then they've got their import line that, like, oh, the samples I got back originally from the import line were great, and then a year down the line, they're getting a lot of customer complaints about build quality or neck construction or whatever, and it's fallen off because at first we sent you a good product, and now they've kind of lost control, and the company's kind of just like, all right, let's get them out there, let's sell them, let's just make these things. So I think it's
and that's created this perception that anything that's built in a large factory it suffers in quality because you're using less skilled labor or you're using fewer humans touching that.
Right.
So how do you overcome that?
Yes. We have our own rule.
Yeah.
We have to keep this rule. Even though we got a bunch of orders, we produce by keeping our rules. That rule is that just 5% more than previous month.
Okay.
You understand? This month 100 pieces. Next month should be less than 105 pieces.
Okay.
So that's why in the past so many bass players have had to wait so long to taking the older bass guitar.
Okay.
We need to keep this rule. Otherwise, if we increase the monthly quantity, very fast,
Right.
quality will be down
Playing footsie.
automatically. We have an experience
Right.
in Korea. Dame was kind of very high season and low season. If we increase the quantity very fast, automatically the quality is getting down.
Yeah.
And the demand goes with it.
Yeah. Finally, the conclusion is, if they met a little bit poor quality bass guitars, they will say goodbye.
Yeah.
We know this truth.
Yeah.
So we never increase the quantity very fast.
Right.
Still
I think
same.
that I never would have thought of it that way, but that makes a ton of sense. That
Yeah.
like we just do 5% growth month to month. That way we don't. All of a sudden we're making 100, and now we're making 800. How are you going to keep the quality the same?
Right,
You
yeah,
know. So I think that's a great way to do it.
And,
to look at
and
it.
your factory is located in Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very close from Bali Island.
Yeah.
Were the first sires made there as well, or were they made in South Korea?
First time we had two factories. One is in Indonesia, the other one is in China. But at the very first time, beginning time, we produce in Indonesia, and just once in China. But the response was very, very bad. The basis from China. Just one batch.
Yeah.
One batch.
Just one batch, but the response was very, very bad because of the quality.
Yeah.
I thought almost a similar quality. I think just 100%, maybe 90%.
Yeah.
I thought normal bass player cannot distinguish between this one and this one, but
Right.
they
could.
knows everything. So it was very kind of shocking with me.
Yeah.
So I decided to close the factory in China,
Yeah.
and we invest a lot
Yeah.
in Indonesia again.
Okay.
So we decided to every guitars from our own factory in Indonesia.
And that's been a country where I see a lot of manufacturers going to and building a lot with. I mean, like, it's another one of those stories like we were talking about earlier, where it's like Japan, South Korea, what's next? Indonesia. We have these really high quality instruments coming out of there. So you have your own factory. You're able to take care of your workers there. So I guess the next obvious question is, you have this factory made bass. Have you ever considered going back to making basses yourself, like a master built series or something?
Why not?
Why not, right?
Why not?
Right.
Sometimes I dream something like that. In order to be bass guitar luthier again, I have to quit this business.
Yeah.
So actually these days I am thinking about considering about retirement.
Retiring.
Actually,
Uh-oh.
because there are so many good guy who can manage this company.
Yeah. It's pretty self-sustaining at this point.
So I want to get some rest actually. Just 2-3 years just making bass guitar, or I have a very good friend in Japan who can build a nice bass guitar. So I will collaborate with him. Sometimes I dream, but these days I am focusing the tune microphone these days.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about that. So you went from, you have Dame, and then you build this bass guitar company that takes the world by storm. And then the acoustic guitars have been getting into the market, which those are awesome too. I know this is the Bass Nerds podcast, and I'm creating sacrilegious, but they're really, really nice. I had the pleasure of playing those at NAMM last year. They're pretty awesome. But let's talk a bit about the microphones. It's the same sort of ideology, or the same sort of mantra, where you want to create very high quality, very affordable price point. So how did that come to be?
Actually, I found the theory and physics, the microphone tuning way and the pickup tuning way, very similar.
Okay.
95% is very similar structure.
Okay.
There is a magnet and there is a coil, and so it is very fun for me. But finally I got some experience how to make the sound for making microphone. So these days I am very interesting kind of hybrid microphone.
Okay.
And very nice tune capture inside plus microphone simulation DSP inside.
Yeah, like the Slate stuff, like Slate Audio does that too.
Yeah, so my plan is that making my goal is not good. It's not making good microphone. My goal is or very similar with legendary microphone, same sound.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? SM58, Sennheiser E945, and KSM9.
Yeah.
With just one microphone.
So the goal is not necessarily to have one microphone that stands out. It's to have a very versatile microphone that can get all of those classic sounds. Because I mean, like, you've been in plenty of studio sessions, and like you're just like, oh, you know what? This needs an SM57. You know? So this kind of prohibits the use or the need to get all those other microphones.
Just by one microphone, there is a kind of just one button. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, number 6.
Right.
And change 99% same with the original version.
Yeah.
This is my new goal.
Okay.
I realized I don't need to create a new sound.
Right.
There is very nice sound already.
Yeah.
But they have to pay a lot for a lot of a lot of microphone. You know what I mean. So if it could be really 100% same sound,
right,
with original one, and 4 microphone inside, just one, it's gonna be very cool with less than $120, something like that.
Oh wow!
I'm looking forward to that to that day for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've got maybe 20 microphones in here, and it's all for different things. You know, some are great for. I really like this mic for tracking speakers on basses. I had mentioned that I like the Jauqo mic over there, the old Beta 58 for snares. Obviously, the RE20 is a really well-known bass broadcasting mic. So yeah, and then little pencil mics for cymbals and you know different things for vocals. So I use this for vocals a lot too.
I
So
use the RE20 for a kick.
yeah, a lot of people like it. I got a D112 for kick. So yeah, having a versatile thing that you can quickly go, well, let me A/B it with, instead of setting up 4 microphones and picking which one, because that's the way I came from learning what mic I want best is I'll put all these mics on one cabinet and then go A, B, C which one I like the best. But if I can just go, now let's try here, that's the one we'll use. You know, that would be pretty interesting. So yeah, definitely excited to see some of that.
Absolutely.
I had a question about when you decided to go with to sell Sire Basses through like Musician's Friend and Guitar Center. There was this big uproar on the internet, like, oh, now the prices are going to go through the roof. This is what happens. And then instantly everybody was like, I don't know who it was, but it's like, nope, they're all the same price. Price is not changing. So like, how has going to a Musician's Friend or Guitar Center affected your business and distribution? And how were you able to keep cost the same is a big one, right?
Actually, we tried to meet somebody of Musician's Friend or Guitar Center. We tried a lot.
Years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah.
It was impossible.
Yeah.
No one was interested until they paid attention to the buzz.
Right. Until there was
And who created the buzz?
these guys.
Well, Tomon too.
Tomon, yeah.
You had Tomon pretty
Tom,
early.
yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
that was your first.
Yeah.
Tomon is the big store out of Germany. The
Right.
big
Oh,
chain out of
yeah,
Germany.
yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
probably one of the biggest distributors and stores in the world, I think. They're huge.
One day, finally, they called us.
So they called you, huh?
Yeah.
Mickey.
Yep.
So yeah, and the cost. Maybe in the future, I think 90% of processing procedure will be automatic system.
Yeah.
So these days we are very interested in automatic system. So
Meaning
you
order it and then you make it type of thing?
Yeah.
Instead of building a bunch and then selling.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially the painting these days, I think 80% is automatic system in my factory.
Okay.
That's the reason we
Yeah.
can keep the price,
Yeah.
even though
Your overhead's lower.
work with the distributor. As you know, the big distributor, they want a margin,
Right.
so automatically have to be higher price.
Right.
But we could keep the price
Yeah.
because of the automation system.
Right. Yeah. Instead of having to build, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of instruments, you just make them as you go. It's almost like a USA handmade thing. Like we're making them to order instead of having a giant warehouse full of them.
Yeah, actually, we have to know about this. We have a kind of prejudice, kind of a fantasy for handmade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some parts have to be handmade,
Right.
but I think 80% the robot machines processing craftsmanship is better than handmade.
Right.
It's more consistent.
Yeah, so
There's the less margin of error.
we have to combine two things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Handmade and
Right.
automation system.
Right.
So
Also, they're to me as a player, field wise, they are they've got rolled fingerboards
Right.
on production.
That's
They
huge.
use- That's
That's
just
huge deal.
unbelievable to me.
And
to
you're
this day.
seeing you're seeing a lot of manufacturers like, shit, we should be doing this.
Yeah, we gotta do this.
Yeah, that was to me. That was huge. I was telling a bass player out in San Francisco. I said, the bass comes out of the box feels like I've owned it for 20 years. Because of just that small feature.
And you're the type of person who would have probably sent it to your luthier anyway if like the bass didn't have rolled fret edges. you would have
Yeah,
that done.
yeah, absolutely. But you know, more than that, it for me, my left hand is very sensitive to neck profile and action and all of that.
Oh, you're one of those like, oh, what
It's
is
terrible,
what is the
man. It's
what is the
terrible.
depth at the
No,
first fret?
no, that's not it.
I love
That's
that
not
phone
it.
call.
No, I'm the guy that can't go to a jam and just pick up somebody's bass and play.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and because I wish I wasn't that way, but I am
Oh,
sensitive.
hey, you know what? It's nice that you're that way because we've all dealt with that guy who just shows up. Hey, I want to play. It's like
Right.
that's not how this works, dude.
Right.
Yeah. So, but no, the rolled fingerboard edges is huge, and it makes the bass feel like you've owned it a long time, even though it's brand new. You know?
Right. I mean,
and now with the roasted, you know,
roasted maple. Yeah, that's huge,
huge,
man.
yeah.
Oh,
Actually, we have a special technology for roasting
Yeah.
the wood. We have our own technology. So
Oh, okay.
not just for neck,
Yeah.
But bodies as well.
but as well. So we will apply this new technology to our next version.
Yeah.
Bass guitar.
Ooh. And what's the result of roasting the wood? Does it give it more of like that vintage broken in sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the sound, definitely.
Yeah.
I think 30%, 40% vintage feel.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. And 30% and 40% is natural. How can I express about that? I feel natural sound
Yes.
Yeah.
and vintage sound.
Right.
It means better sound.
Right.
It for me.
Yeah.
But
I think the first time I played a roasted neck was on the Sir guitars, and we all know those start at about $3,000, you know, and go way up from there. And I, you know, at first I was like, "What is this? I don't know what this." And then I played it. I was like, "Man, this thing plays great, sounds great, feels great." And then I became a big fan of them for sure. And now to see, you know, I was looking at the Sire website last night, and you've got that. I think they're streeting at like maybe $1,200 or $1,400, flame top, roasted maple neck,
That's a
block
five-star.
inlays,
Yeah.
right? You know, like if you just talk about the features that come on these instruments, the list is huge.
actually, we release the roasted neck, the $499 one.
Oh, really? $500?
Sayonara. Goodbye, everybody.
amazing.
Close up.
And maybe you guys know we found very nice technique for making the smoother, the neck
neck,
backside smoother
right.
with
It feels amazing.
you know
Yeah,
the roasted neck and
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
particular technology. The neck backside feel totally different with
The neck backside.
neck backside.
You know, I was kind of thinking it. Right?
You know I'm gonna fucking say it.
I was like, okay now. And then you say it.
Of course I'm gonna fucking say
I
it.
literally was like, is he got a horse over there?
Oh yeah.
What is he doing over there?
No, just Vuyani.
Oh,
No, for me,
very strong place.
I told you your voice too like.
He never heard it.
me,
He's just moving past.
nah, man, I'm a bass nerd. I mean, through and through.
Anyway, I read the word butter filling.
Yes,
It
yes.
is a butter
It
filling.
feels like butter.
Maybe
Butter.
you guys
Yeah.
will.
Oh yeah.
feels like
We know butter. Yeah.
I couldn't explain. I was trying to explain to guys that the V10, which has a roasted neck, not only is it lighter, but there's a feeling that my thumb feels as I slide
Yeah.
that I'm not getting on anything else.
Right.
And it's not until he explained the fact that it's not just roasting that, you know, it's a combination of a satiny, but
Right.
there's just an element of it that's different.
It's butter.
Yeah.
The butter and silky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Different.
that's the for me. I mean, like I've always played instruments, be it guitars or basses. Like the first thing that's important to me is the way it feels unplugged. Sure. Like if I can play, it feels right that way. I'm less concerned about what it sounds like coming out of the amp because I can always change that with pedals or pickups or whatever.
Going back to when you first started playing these.
Right.
yeah.
It's what it feels like, and I really am a huge fan of this. I've got a Music Man John Petrucci 7-string that's got the painted neck, and I've been like dragging my feet to take it to a guy to take the finish off the neck. I want the finish completely gone because your hand starts to sweat and it's sticky and then it stinks. It's no fun. So I think feeling playability is number one for me for sure. But then like I'm going back to like the features that are on the Sire are just endless.
For the price. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I can't really think of like what you would get comparable, like some of the import Lakeland stuff, but it's more expensive.
It is.
It
is.
Even the like import Sadowski stuff is well over $2,000.
It comes down to, I think, a couple of factors. The fact that you have your own factory, so you're not paying someone to make your stuff, and the fact that there are big major components of it that you've looked ahead and saw that.
Right.
These can be automated. Those processes can be automated, so we could focus on the real, like making sure that there's, when it comes to the hand building stuff, we can pay the people to do the stuff the right way, stuff that needs to be done by hand. Sure. Yeah. So I guess one of the last questions, because we should be probably wrapping up pretty soon.
Whenever you guys want.
Let's look to the future. What does the future hold for Sire?
Actually, I wanna release. Electric guitars and acoustic guitar.
Okay.
Because I think we will release version 3 bass guitar soon. Maybe next NAMM we introduce them.
Okay.
I think if we release version 3 bass guitar, I think almost done, finish it.
Yeah.
No need to better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I just want to know, like, what is version 3? Like, you've already covered so much ground already. You know what I mean?
You guys are gonna be blown away.
Well,
Seriously.
let's talk after this is done.
Get a couple here. We'll review it. Send it back. Whatever.
So you got version 3, and then that's pretty much it. You want to just kind of drive that home.
Yeah.
After releasing version 3, there is nothing to develop about bass guitar anymore, just in my opinion. So I want to I want to give this benefit to electric guitar player and acoustic guitar player.
Right.
So
are the acoustic guitars out? Are they available?
The version we released acoustic guitar already. They were kind of tester version, beta tester version.
Okay.
So
you're pulling the reins back on those right now and kind of redeveloping them.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a new plan to release acoustic guitar.
The ones I played were great.
Really, but the next version will be better than previous version. I can give you my
That's
word.
exciting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a super musician in line for your acoustic guitars?
Is that a smart question?
That's a smart question.
Marcus Miller going to play the acoustic guitars too?
Yes, I wanna work with super musician for acoustic guitar as
And
well.
you have some players in mind already.
Already.
Okay, cool.
Like,
Nice. Nice.
and I want to apply the torrefaction, the roasting, the torrefaction technology to acoustic guitar. Really, it's hugely different.
Yeah.
Differences.
When you torify,
So just the roasting and torrefaction a little bit different. But not many people think two things are same, but a little bit different. Just the looks, roasted maple, the sound, the shit could be.
Yeah.
So have to input some real torrefaction technology inside. Very, very important. Anyway, we have a very special technology for torrefaction. So we want to put the technology to acoustic guitar.
That's huge. Torrefaction is huge in the acoustic guitar world.
Not only the neck, the
Saddles and
back end, the
Sides.
Everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Well, I don't know. I think we covered a lot of stuff about Sire. If somebody's interested in buying a Sire bass or learning more, I assume it's just Sire.
Google.com.
Google.com. Sire.com. You can check those out.
Sire-USA.com.
Sire-USA.com.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, thank you so much. Vuyani, Jauqo, Mark, of course. We really appreciate you coming through.
Very much.
It means a lot to us. And, we'll definly, be keeping our eye out. I'm really excited about that microphone.
Wink, 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 wink.
We can get 5 of them in here.
We could.
Excited for the microphone for sure. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I'm sure we'll have you back, or maybe we can get.
Lastly, may I? There are 3 people I have to thank.
Okay.
Thank all the time.
Okay.
Of course, to the Marcus Miller.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have to thank Marcus Miller.
We all thank Marcus.
I think we all do.
He's very special. There was not any reason to move from Fender.
Right.
But I think he has kind of a mission. It was an amazing decision.
Yeah.
The 99% normal people can this kind of a decision cannot.
Right.
So I really appreciate his decision of Marcus Miller first, and then Hans Thoman of Thoman Music.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's amazing guy.
Yeah.
Very wonderful businessman.
Yeah. Everybody didn't have any interesting for my gears.
Yeah.
Just Hans Thoman.
And me.
That's
That story. I wasn't good enough.
Of course. I'm so grateful. Of course, you. Yeah. Anyway, Hans Thoman. He's really an important person to me. So Hans Thoman and Marcus Miller and Chicago friends.
Yeah.
They are very special. They saw our product without any prejudice,
Yeah.
without any stereotype.
Yeah.
It is very important. That's the start, the boom
Right.
in internet. So I have to say thank you to these three people. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're grateful for having a really quality instrument and a company that
Actually
supports
listens.
them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All those
really
things. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very
everybody
much.
for
Thank you.
listening and watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, send pictures. Send us pictures of your Sire bass. Maybe we'll put
No
them up
nudes.
on our podcast. You can send nudes to Mark.
Only to me.
Only to Mark. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.